and welcome to the Cambridge University Press sponsored webinar, Nobis Movendum Est. Jenny and I would like to welcome William Lee as our guest presenter this evening. William teaches at Tom C. Clark High School in San Antonio, Texas. William has been a longtime user of the Cambridge Latin course, and he has helped edit many of the materials for Cambridge University Press for well over 10 years. He serves on the board of the North American Cambridge Classics Project. He's a state co-chair of the Texas Junior Classical League, and he is currently the chair of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee of the American Classical League. And he has lots of good things to share with us this evening. We are going to record this webinar. The link will be posted on the NACCP website at cambridgelatin.org in a few days. And it will also be on the Cambridge University Press YouTube channel, the Latin Teaching Support page. And if you need a professional development certificate, don't hesitate to email us at clctraining@cambridge.org, and we'll get that to you as soon as possible. William.
Salve omne. Welcome, and thank you for spending your Thursday evening with us. So, Nobis Movendum Est, for sure. First, before we go any further, how are we doing tonight? Are we surviving the week okay? If you can go ahead and give me a reaction, thumbs up, thumbs down, using the emojis, or, oh, good, I'm glad. I'm so glad it's going towards the end of the week. Let me tell you, it has been something. And so here are my contact information in case you needed to get a hold of me, william.lee@nisc.net. And also you can send me a tweet at Magister Lee on Twitter. That's my Twitter handle. And so this is also a QR code that you can scan if you like, or you can go ahead and type in that tinyurl.com/CLC-3-18-2021, so you can have access to the presentation as you go along, in case you cannot hear or see anything on the screen. So, let me go back a little bit. All right, good. Okay, so what Latin teachers used to be able to do during 2019 BC, and that's before Corona. I know that joke has been used lots of times, but it definitely makes me feel like it's been that long since we were normal. And so, again, brain research shows that you learn a lot better when you get kids moving about while they're learning, or after 15, 20 minutes, just change things up. It definitely will enhance their learning. And so, some of the activities that you can use that we used to use 2019 BC. I look at this picture, it just makes me so sad that I haven't seen some of these kids forever. But the activity is Caesar Dicit, which is very similar to Simonis Dicit. I'm just going to play a super quick clip. You can follow along on the presentation itself if you like, and see the whole movie. But it's super quick. You give them Caesar Dicit or Caesar non Dicit. You give them a command.
Caesar Dicit plaudite. Caesar Dicit tolite tuas manus super caput. Okay, so you guys are out because manus means.
So this is something that you can certainly do in stage 19, as you can see the Unit 2 textbooks when we're learning about imperatives. I actually do teach the imperatives a little bit earlier because they see in stage 14, Saui, Audi, right? When Rufila is trying to get his attention, and finally says, Saui, Audi. And so I actually do teach it then, so that they can be successful on the National Latin exam, because we usually hit stage 14 about early February, end of January, and so things like that. But certainly this is an activity that you can do with the kids in stage 19 when we're learning about imperatives. So that's one of the activities I have them stand up and do things with. And we also have, let's keep going, a game called Cape. So this is very similar to spoons. And I'm not sure if you guys know how to play spoons. Basically, it's like a card game. You have, a group, and you have one less item on the floor or the table, whatever. So if you have 5 people in the group, you put 4 spoons on the table, and they flip over the cards. And when a card comes up, then they have to grab it. Well, I have modified it for my classroom, again, BC. So they have a marker highlighter on the floor, and we assign gestures to verbs. So for example, I difficult to build, and I ask the kids to suggest gestures. And so they'll do something like this, dimito, dimitere, they do this and things like that. And so I'll call out the Latin words, and then they'll gesture. And then when I say cape, they have to grab the item in front of them. And then the winner, of course, then they will have to drop it, and then they circle to the next person. So we rotate constantly, as opposed to, okay, the winner then goes on to play the next person. So that way everyone is engaged. And so it could get chaotic, but this is what it looks like.
Amo. Kaido. Lexo.
Oh, no. Kathy, you threw me off.
Kaido.
Don't look at me then.
Amo. Fluo. Cape.
All right, and I see in the chat that Katie loves this game and miss it right now, and as do I. I think we miss everything about the kids and what we used to be able to do. But hold that thought, because I'm going to show you how I have modified some of these activities post-corona. Okay, well, I should say post-corona, right? If we want to be grammatically correct. And then the other activity that I used to do is Dictatio Rooms, or running dictations. Basically, I simplified the stories or cut apart a long story, paste sentences on walls, group them together. And so they have to run, one person will run out of the classroom, and then they have to try to memorize as much as they can that sentence, go back, say it to their partner in Latin. And once they have gotten all the sentences, and they have to switch out every time. And once they have gotten the sentences, then they have to sit together, and then they have to sequence it, and then they have to read it and figure out, or translate it, depending on what you want them to accomplish. And so, yes, it could get a little chaotic. And as Donna and Jenny and Martha knows, this is the year that this is the class of 40 that I had in 1 year. This was 2 years ago. And anytime I can get them out of my tiny classroom, because it's after lunch and super warm, it's a blessing for everyone, I think. And as crowded as it was, they're seniors this year, and they still remember things like this. And so this is what it will look like, or it looked like back then. And again, I'll go ahead and pause right there. So, but you do have a longer version of it. You can kind of see the rest of it. But I remember that year, because it was a class of 40, instead of running back to the classroom, they were kind of just grouped together, and they sat on the floor outside the hall. And yes, I did warn my neighbors so that they're not super alarmed and upset at me. I apologize to them profusely ahead of time. I promise. And so And of course, you can also use tools like Goose Chase. It's an app to help you do scavenger hunt. And this is what it looks like.
Letter to Achilles' playroom in response to this one.
I have to
Need to address at least two things. Okay, so basically we have to.
So yeah, look like
Sitting
a
down.
normal life.
This is like a normal junior day.
Yeah.
Meow, meow.
I say something.
So, and it has to do
I just walked through. I walked through one back. Actually, I don't even say anything.
And so let me kind of pause for a moment here. How many of you guys are familiar with Goose Chase? If you can go ahead and give me a reaction. Thumbs up, thumbs down, yes, no. Okay, so these are things that it's an app, and you can actually get a free account for educators and create an activity. You just can't have more than 5 participants at a time if you have the free account. But what it is that it sets up, you can give them clues and they have to do different things for points. You can have them take a picture. You can have them analyze a text. And so as you can see, this is the My Latin 3 group. And so they're in Unit 4. And so I ask them things like, okay, take a picture of a sentence that contains a gerundive of purpose or a passive paraphrastic, whatever, and point to it. Don't just take a picture of the whole paragraph, point to it. And again, I used to be able to make copies for the kids and little things that you forget you can't do anymore during this pandemic, and have them highlight or underline because I don't want them to write in my book. And so you can have them do that. And it's a super fast way to do formative assessment, because if they underline something other than a gerundive of obligation or a gerundive expressing purpose, then you know they're not getting it, right? And as you can see, I actually have on the screen their leadership board, so you can kind of see who's winning, who's got some points, or how many ever pictures. But it's a really powerful tool. You can do videos. You can ask them to choose the best translation, write the translation, to discuss characters. And so if you are interested in seeing what some of those activities look like, I can show that to you towards the end of the presentation. So moving, learning, keep those brain cells turning, oh yeah. So I was trying to ask people if they know the tune, and they're like, I have no idea, Mr. Lee. And I tell them it's the opening theme to Rawhide, and they're like, what is that?
Well,
And you
wow.
tell them it's a TV show from, a long time ago. They're like, ew, how old are you, Mr. Lee? And I get super offended then. No, but seriously, there are lots of research from scientists that shows students learn much better when you keep them moving, when you change activities 20, 30 minutes. In fact, I would say maybe 15 to 20 minutes. I mean, you know your students best, right? And even in this virtual world, and when you're staring at the boxes, you might want to go, okay, let's do something. Go ahead and turn on your cameras and stand up and be with me, right? Or let's take a brain break. It's definitely a lot more important nowadays to take these brain breaks or do something silly. For example, when you get to the Latin phrase, huc iluc, right, in stage 30, dignitas, when Vitellius sees Haterius and he's huc iluc, huc iluc, huc iluc ambulabat in horto, you just keep going huc iluc, and they're gonna go, what are you doing? And you tell them, I'm not going to stop until I see a lot of you guys going huc iluc, huc iluc, huc iluc. Let's go, huc iluc, huc iluc. They may resent you for a little bit, but eventually, some of them will turn on the cameras and they'll do that for you. So again, you know your students best, but definitely give them an opportunity to take a brain break, to move about, do things so that they're not just staring at the computer all day. You know you're tired by the end of the day, right? I mean, teachers have never been so tired, and their eyes have never been so tired because we're staring at a screen most of the time. They are as well. So we got to be compassionate and again, give them something different, right? For them to work on, for them to do. So I have a question in the chat. What would I recommend for those who work in districts where students are not required to turn their cameras on? Teachers in the school have asked them fairly regularly, but 95% of them never have, not once. So I also teach at a district that has said we cannot ask the students or require the students to turn on the cameras, even though there are teachers who have gone rogue and said you have to turn on your cameras or else. So we don't know what their situations are like at home. Hopefully that they're in a good learning environment, but you never know. And as far as equity is concerned, some people just don't feel comfortable turning on their cameras, right? Because they don't want to show where they live or what they're going through. There could be like 3 siblings in the background screaming, and they have to take care of them. And so I try very gently to say to them, if you can do this, it would be great. Okay, even for like a second or two. You don't have to unmute yourselves. Do this for me. And again, it has to do with the relationship and the rapport that you built with the kids. And so hopefully you can get some of them to turn it on for you, and just to tell them, I care about you. I just want to see you. I miss you. I've not seen you in almost a year. Right. And some of the kids, I mean, seriously, the first time that I have seen them on camera or in person, it's like, oh my God, I want to cry. So, so in terms of implementing the movement activity, so I'll get to that. But again, I don't make it a grade. I try to offer incentives, like, okay, so you only have to answer this part of the assignment or things like that. Okay, but again, I don't require them to turn on the cameras if they don't feel comfortable. But sometimes, like in breakout rooms in smaller settings, they will turn it on for you, which we'll talk about. Okay, because it's not in front of everybody. All right, so ehu coronavirus adwenet, like quintus adwenet, right? And then ehu coronavirus adwenet, right? That's what my classroom looks like nowadays, most of the time. Although we are going to go back, our superintendent has asked the students to come back in person. They have been invited to come back in person. So I'm looking forward to the classrooms not being so empty like this, because we're hybrid. The kids have a choice of being in person or doing virtual learning, but they all have to sign in to the Zoom sessions at the time. So that's why we get the blank cameras, and we have like 2-3 kids in our classroom. So depending on the period, depending on the day, I could have like the first 3 periods, I could have as many as 18 kids total, or in person, or I could have as few as 5 during the first 3 periods. So because we rotate based on the last name, we're on the A days and B days. And so again, hopefully this is going to change. So, quid nunc quomodo idem facere possum, right? You have to ask yourself that question, what now? What can I do, right? Can I do the same thing? And the responsum, the answer, minime, non potes. Please keep that in mind. We're in a pandemic. The kids are suffering. We are all suffering. We don't know their individual situations. So, and a lot of the activities that we have, we're not going to be able to replicate that. And for those of you who know me really well, like I actually have to say this to myself on a daily basis. I have to remind myself that I am not going to be able to get the kids as far as I can normally, or have super high expectations, right? Sometimes you have to just be okay with it and be okay with it. They're going to be fine. Their well-being is the most important thing to me. We want them to be okay. So don't worry if you cannot do some of these things that you used to do. That makes you just super unique. So again, we need to make sure they're okay first and foremost. So what I've done, started brainstorming about some of these activities. And so for the Dictatio Correns, virtualis, the virtual version, I know that's not technically the term. That's why I put it in quotes. I'm sure some neo-Latinists will come at me and go, no, it's not virtualis. It should be like Cupernaticus or whatever, or Cupernatica, sorry, Dictatio is feminine. But it's okay. And so what I decided to do is, okay, so I'm going to have the sentences like I have them always. And my school's platform is Zoom. So let me go ahead and do another poll. Go ahead and raise your hand if you're not using Zoom. Okay. So Jing, if you don't mind me asking, what platform do you use?
We use Microsoft Teams.
Teams. Now, I think they have similar features, correct? And Google Meet that you can put them in breakout rooms. Okay, so, but the little subtleties, I'm not sure. I know they can do breakout rooms. I just don't know if they can have the same settings that I have that I can use. Okay, so mostly Google Meet. Okay. All right, so I believe Google Meet has updated their features so that it's very similar to Zoom. But in Zoom, you can create the breakout rooms. And one of the new things that you can do, one of the features that they have added is that once you create the breakout rooms, you can open it so that the students can choose which room to go into. And that is a setting that you want. You want the students to be able to go back and forth into the different breakout rooms. So you have your sentences chopped up digitally, number them. You want to number them so they can tell you which ones they need. And then you create the breakout rooms. You divide them into pairs or groups or whatever. Okay. So let's just say that I have 20 students in the room and I paired them up. That means I need 10 rooms, but you need to always add 1 to that number. So if I have 12 groups, I want to create 13 rooms. If I have 14 groups, I want to have 15 rooms. And that last room is going to be the dictation room. And so you tell them the room number, you open up the rooms, you let them go into their rooms, ask them to create a Google Doc and share that with you. And so the idea is that you want them to read, say the Latin, go back to their breakout rooms to say the Latin to their partner, so they're typing it up. Okay. And so you open up the room, then you go into the Dictatio room, not the main room. So no one's going to be in the main room. Okay, you ask them to go into the Dictatio room. And then there are 2 ways to do this. If you're comfortable with the students and you trust them that they're not going to just copy and paste the sentences into a Google Doc, then you can just post the sentences that they need in the chat when they go into the room. if you worry about them cutting and pasting, then you just share your screen. In Zoom, you can share your screen. So I would type that one sentence that they need and then share that, only that portion of the screen. So this is what it looks like. And they have to do this. Sorry,
All right,
I forgot.
Katie, which sentence?
So let me add this. So to again encourage them to turn on the screen, whatnot. Okay, when they're in the breakout rooms, I ask them to again try to turn on their screens, but they got to do this while they're in the room to simulate that dictatio recurrings aspect of it. Right? You got to keep them moving. So this is what it looks like.
4. Okay. Because I'm going to wait, because I think Estrella's group is the one ahead. So I'm going to give her sentence last so y'all don't get ahead. All right, so 4. Okay. All right, that's 4. All right, Maddie, which one do you need? 3. Okay, remember, you gotta keep running.
And I'll add
All right,
that
so
these kids, I've not seen
here's
them in a
3.
long time. Like they would turn the cameras off. But again, in the smaller rooms,
So we have
comfortable,
request,
and they're willing to
this
turn it
one.
on.
Okay, so. All right. And then Estrella, what number? 7. You need 7, right? Okay.
So that's kind of, I'm showing you my screen, cutting the sentences, pasting into the chat.
Okay. There you go.
So you turn on your camera and you can sit down or stand up.
All right, so Meryl, you need to go back to your room. So I can move you back, I think. Oh, there you go. Mateo
So some
went to the main
kids, and I'll
room,
pause
so he needs to join your room.
depending on how comfortable the kids are with the platforms themselves, some of them may not know how to move from breakout room to breakout room on their own. Some of them, depending on the device that they use, they may not know how to say, for example, like I usually use a PC device to access Zoom and to teach. And so if they're asking me, how do I get to the breakout room on iPad? Like until the first time that happened, I was like, I have no idea. But you learn things, right? So you tell them you click here. And so be patient. And some of them may have the same device as you, but you still cannot figure out why they can go from room to room. And so that's where that's just what happened here. And so I had to move physically one person from one breakout room to the other. Right. And so so that's the Dictatio Correns Virtualis, the virtual version of it. And so some of the kids said that they liked it. Some of the kids appreciated being able to see other people. I had a kid who actually stood up and ran stationarily. He did the stationary running the whole time. And I mean, I was like, that's actually really cool. I didn't ask for it, but thank you. And so, and I think for the most part, kids are getting tired of staring at the computers all day. They're getting tired at the same thing that we are. And so just getting them up and about, do something different is going to be very helpful. And this may not have anything to do with Cambridge, although I think it does, because once they get together, then once they piece the sentences together, then they read together in the separate breakout room, and then we come back and talk about it. So that's how I tie it to the CLC. And again, you can do this with the larger stories, right? Because I mean, we all remember, that humongous Arcus TT, right? Part 1 and part 2. Oh my god. Especially Arcus TT part 2. It's so long. And if you are going to do both of them in the same day, that's a humongous task for the kids to do. And that's the other thing to keep in mind is that, again, their attention span is different. It's not the same. So you cannot expect them to read as much as we used to be able to do BC. So, all right.
All right.
Cape. So very similarly, again, with breakout rooms. So I show them, right, just like before. So we're not doing breakout rooms on this one. It's everyone's at the same time. Okay. So this is kind of based on the virtual format of Kurtaman tournaments that we've been running this year, once we shifted Kurtaman to the virtual format. And so it involves using the chat room feature, the chat feature. So again, we look at the vocab list, we assign gestures. And so things like consisto, okay, rapio, amo, identifico, all kinds of things, right? Negligo, someone came up with a great negligo because we struggled with negligo. And I think it's the class after this that did the, based on the meme, right? Where he's like ignoring them. So I thought that was great. Oro, sparo, things like this. And again, you recycle the words and then you call cape. So for them to grab the spoon, they need to type in something in the chat and hit enter. So, and it's to everybody, so we can all see it. And so if I have a class of 14, I would tell them, all right, the first 7 people in the chat, in the order that appears to me, will get a point. And we'll see who will be the winner after however many rounds you want to play. Okay, so again, it's very similar to Kurtaman. And just like Kurtaman, what we've done is in between each questions, I want to clear the board. And so I type in something like round, if you look in the chat, round 1. Okay, and so if some of you guys could go ahead and type in the letter and hit enter. I'll bring that over here. Can y'all see the chat? The little chat box on my screen now. So that's how we do Kurtaman. So Stephen says, yes, thank you. Let's see, anyone else? Can y'all just type in something? Yes, okay, awesome. And so that's going to be the order that I go for. That's how they grab the spoon, right? And so again, you look at the number of participants that you have, take about half of the number. So if you have like 13, say top 6, the first 6, okay? And then you can see, all right, so I'm going to assign y'all points for round 1. Now I'm going to do round 2 because, and you need to do this so that you can separate each round, right? So I know, okay, Brian's the last person from the last round, and now it's going to be round 2. Because if you don't do something like this, if you don't kind of clear the board, this is what we call it, then you're supposed to see something in the gray box. Do you guys see the chat at all or no? Yes? Okay, or you can look into your own chat.
William, we can see the chat, but in that gray box where you have to the left of your video, there's the gray box.
Like the video, I don't think there's I don't see a gray box to the left.
Gray box. Okay, what do you have on your screen besides the video? Anything else?
I have Cape, CAPE, right, and then I have the video, and that's it.
All right, y'all ready?
And then now I just moved the chat window like.
Okay, so we're seeing your chat. I guess that gray box we're seeing is your chat.
Okay, so that's my chat box. Okay, so you can't see it.
You don't usually see that.
Yeah. So, but that's but you can look in your own chat box to see what I'm talking about. I was hoping to kind of show it to you on my screen, but I guess it's not coming across. Okay. So
we thought maybe you were putting a word in there that we were supposed to be responding to or something.
No, it's just I guess it's just the way sharing the screens. Because I'm because I'm on my that's on my secondary screen, which is a great help if you are able to do a secondary that's godsend. It's been godsend to play.
So
Things like Kahoot.
you see Steve Hill's question here. So you call out an
Yes.
imperative.
So we give the gesture, and then when I say kape, so I will go like identifico, and they have to gesture. Identifico. They have to turn on the camera, and then rapio. So everyone will do that. Okay, and then amos, whatever. And then all of a sudden I'll throw in the word kape. And what I've learned is that it's better to call when you have gestures that involve both hands, like this. Because inevitably, if it's something like this, that was a gesture they assigned for delecto, they will use their other hand and put it on the enter button. Because they will type in the letter ahead of time, and they'll put the little finger on the enter button, and they'll try to get in before everyone else. So always use the gestures that involve both. And then they'll type. So that's how they grab the thing. So yeah, I don't call out. So I will only call out the vocab words. So again, it doesn't have to be verbs. It could be like concilium, right? It could be anything, dignitas. And so let's right. So identifico.
Do one so we can see it. Like,
Yeah. So okay. So let's do this for identifico. We'll just do identifico. Consisto. Rapio. Okay. And then amo. Okay. And then pereo. Okay. So those are going to be the gestures. Y'all ready? Okay. Amo. Identifico. Consisto. Rapio. Pereo.
oh,
Amo. Identifico. Consisto. Cape. So Brian's first. Sydney's second.
Brian, you're so good at this.
I know, right? So that's what I mean. So they can type in anything.
I forgot.
Type in B, but tell them it's appropriate. Short, one letter, or a Latin word that you know, something. Okay, and then now you clear the board, and so identifico, amo, consisto, cape.
Okay.
And then there you go. So now I know Sydney's first this time. And that's the new round. So you always want to clear it in the chat. So this is what it looked like in my classroom.
Okay. Consisto.
They did that.
Skindo. Whoa. Gotta do your gestures. Whoa. Skindo. Consisto. Oro. Skindo. Reficio.
I think I did that for Reficio too. And then Cape. So.
All right, let's see who gets the points.
And so I just put a check by the name on my roster, and then just tally up the check marks at the end. How many rounds? As many as you want. As many, because you're not going to have, like, don't have them create like more, I would say more than 10 gestures. They're going to get confused, because the idea is that it's a small number of vocabulary words I want them to work and to assign gesture to, because the whole idea is that I want to ingrain it in their head. And then as reinforcement, for example, like my Latin ones, I did this with them, and we're in stage 16 with Rex Spectaculum Dot, part 2. So they did dimito, they did delectat, right? Things like that. And so when I see delektaverat, instead of saying had delighted, I would say, okay, gesture delektaverat from yesterday, think about it, and hopefully that'll get them to recall. And then you can point out, okay, and so what do we do with this? Now you remember the gesture. What does that ERA do? What does that V tell us? What have we been doing with these forms? All right, good. Okay, dimiserat, right? Yam servum dimiserat. Okay, dimiserat. Oh, okay, got it. What do we do with the ERA though? And so, again, you do the vocab, you assign a gesture, you reinforce it when you're reading. It's all good. And you get them to move, or at least do something that's not like just staring at the computer all day. So, yeah. Other things that you can do, I want to give credit to Ginny Lindsay for the choice board. Not Ginny Lindsay. I'm so sorry. She's out on the screen right now. But Ginny Blasi for the idea of the choice board. And so this is something that she shared. Sorry, Ginny. I'm so sorry.
Well, wait, let me just confess. I found this on some language teacher site, so don't give me too much credit.
Well, but I said
I thought
Ginny
it was a good
Lindsay.
idea.
So I said Ginny Lindsay first. I'm so sorry.
I know, we
It's
Ginny.
you're the better. No, both of y'all are great. Both of y'all are great. Good
Yeah,
friends with both of
okay.
y'all. So again, these are practice without electronics. And so tell them to do some of these. Go home, do some of these, right? Because I mean, after a while, you know they're completely burnt out. They're burnt out on technology, just like you are. I mean, seriously, how many of you guys come home and go, oh my God, I just want to turn on TV, sit on the couch. I don't want to look at my computer. I don't want to look at the phone. I just want to read or do something that's not technology. That's me. Like I have to cut myself off or else I'm just gonna, work myself. Like it gets me all wound up and I can't go like to sleep at all. So the choice board is you can give them things for them to do, and you can make this Latin related. So for example, all right, so go outside and take a picture, or just go read the story that we read today. Reread the story, right? You can trust them. If you don't, fine. Okay, use device, take a picture, have someone take a picture of yourself, take a selfie. They love selfies. You know that. We're talking about the selfie and the TikTok generation. So make a TikTok, right? Demonstrate that you know the meaning of the word salto. Make a TikTok. Okay, something. But once they're done with the choice board, they can return it to you. So that's what the choice board is. And you can actually do this with differentiation as well. You can have, 3 culture assignments across this way, or you can do like grammar assignments, vocab assignments, and you tell them you got to do one of each. One of each type.
I'm going to try to put it in the chat box. The other day it wasn't letting me post things in the chat box.
Yeah. And if you access my presentation, I linked it. And
Okay.
so you can just click on the link as well if you like to get a copy of it.
Okay.
Anything that the videos are shareable, and so I have made it so that if you just click on it, if you want to go back and look at more of the videos, you're able to do that.
You are my hero.
All right, and the racing winning aim die, I need to give credit to my very good friend Jenny Luongo. I think you guys, if you do AP Latin, I think you guys all know Jenny Luongo. She is a goddess. She's amazing. But earlier this year when I had COVID and at home, I was trying to come up with something for the AP kids to do. And she shared this with me and I was like, thank you so much. I really appreciate it because I have no energy right now to come up with something. They can do during class or for homework to answer your question. So you can give them a break, like, okay, go and take pictures and then come back in 15 minutes, do something like this. Or if you do the assignments, what I said about, these are these are 3 culture activities, 3 grammar activities, and 3 vocab activities. Do one of each, and then have them share it with you.
Can I just say that someone had the kids with an elementary school just doing numbers, and so kids were bouncing a basketball and counting out loud, and somebody else had the mother and the kid was finding 1 stick, 2 rocks, and they were doing the numbers. It was in Spanish, but so it's just a way to get them to not sit at a computer and click.
Yeah. And so, absolutely. And again, some of these things is to get them moving, learning, right?
Yeah.
And so racing, winning, and die is kind of the alternative to scavenger hunt. And so you have different missions. And so again, you project this on the screen, right? When you divide them into groups when they're ready to go, and they gotta look around the house, right? And they bring something to you. And so you can write the first initial or the initials of the kids who have gotten brought you something that relates to Skolan, okay, or Julius Caesar, or August, or mountains, or whatever, right? And so this is round 1, and you don't have to play them in order. I actually started with Missus Tertius, so with the colors. And if you're familiar with the AP curriculum, a lot of these words, like Regina, Insignis, Invisa, if you're doing Virgil, these are words that they're going to see. And so I'm kind of like pre-teaching almost, even though it's a fun activity, because I know they have not seen Insignis in Cambridge, but that's a big word they need to know in Virgil. So yeah, any questions about kind of like like a bingo card. So questions about racing, winning, and die, or cape, or dictatio currens, or any of the activities. All right. So this is my contact information. William Lee at NISC.net, like I said. So they do all of them. This Mrs. Card, do they do all of them? Depending on how much time that you have allotted for that day, or how much time you are allowed to keep them on Zoom. So it could be something that's done over 2 days. Depends on how long it takes them to complete the Mises. So you can set a time limit, or whoever's first person to get all of them wins, right? So then you start another Mises. But the idea is that you do want to go ahead and make sure you go over the words with them in the end as well, so they know that they know the word. Again, the Cambridge philosophy with vocabulary acquisition is you see it again and again. They do not introduce a word on the vocab list unless you've seen it at least 3 times, for the most part. And so you hear it, you see it, you point it out, and do as much as you can for repetition, and they'll get it. Yes, so so if we access your presentation, can we get a copy of the Mises board? Yes, if you click on it, it should bring you that copy. And so this is one thing I'll show you. If you're not familiar with Google, so I'm going to shift my drive over to the screen. Can you guys see the drive now on the screen? Go ahead and give me another signal. Okay, awesome. And so this is the copy of this file. Okay, so we all know how to share, hopefully. Go to share and copy link. Okay, so link has been copied. And when you paste it into this, before you hit enter, I want to point out where it says edit, this part, where it says edit, question mark. Go ahead and change that to copy, and then hit enter. Ooh, okay, well, maybe not. I think it's COPY. So capitalization works, I guess. It's going to ask you copy document. So lowercase, change the edit to copy, and then it'll make a copy. And I think I'm fairly certain the presentation, I made a copy. I made the link copy. So then you have your own copy in your own drive. So you don't have to worry about anything at all. And actually, I do have another, like, always make a copy and save it somewhere else for presentations.
The other thing is when you go to the choice board, the second page explains a lot of different ways to use that choice board, which is, if you scroll down, so if they go there, there's more to it than just the one page, you know.
Yes. And if you click on that link, again, change view to copy if you want your own piece of
Right.
document, and then you can edit and whatnot. So if you didn't know how to do that, that's how you force copy something with Google Doc. It comes in really handy because, you know, if you don't change the share setting or whatever, sometimes kids could write things on the master copy, which would be who. Who.
I like your ahus.
Well, and speaking of gestures, they got to do this when they say ehu.
Sydney, I'll fix it. I guess I thought I made it public, but okay, I will.
Okay. So you got to
I
fix
was
it.
trying to do it.
But ehu or eke. So when they see those words, those interjections, okay, I'm waiting for everybody. Okay, so ehu, and they have to say ehu. And if they don't do the gesture, I'll continue to repeat again, just like the hook, eluk, to try to annoy them. And I did this before, you know, the pandemic, but ehu, eke, uge, why, or me misero, or bye-bye, heyus, things like that. If they don't learn anything from me, hopefully they'll know how to say salve, wale, quid august, gratias tipiago, and all those interjections. So
William, thank you so much. That was great, especially as you said over and over again. Kids, yeah, definitely are tired of looking at those screens, and they really need to move around a bit. So thank you for sharing those wonderful ideas.
my pleasure.
Thank all of our participants for being here, and have a great evening, everybody.